That seems to be a common problem, that the falls that people take are always near either their home or their business, somewhere where they're most familiar.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's unfortunate.
yep,
I guess we take for granted that we can walk a
right.
place that's familiar
Exactly.
to us.
Kind of
And you
familiar
get
with the
fooled.
route, and then
Right. You
Not-
get fooled.
Yeah.
Well, that's a deep word, well.
yeah. Shabbat shalom, David. Shabbat shalom, Mark. Shabbat shalom, Cantor, Adina.
Adina.
Can't hear you, Adina.
That's strange.
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. I think I was just a little quiet.
Okay, okay.
What is suicide on here?
You have to ask the rabbi.
What's that?
What page?
We're going to be on page 105 in the Sim Shalom, or 147 in the Lev Shalem.
141.
147. Hey, George. Shabbat shalom.
6. Yeah. Let's see.
This is Sim Shalom, so you want 105.
Yeah, 105. 105 in the blue.
Yeah, 105. There you are.
It's familiar.
We could put sticky notes.
Yeah, yeah, that's what you can do.
I have my handy dandy little blue tabs that
Oh, right.
that are disappearing on my virtual video here.
Yeah.
But I have landmarks that I've used for these 3 years.
Yeah. Shabbat shalom, Mom and Dad.
Hi,
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
Shalom, dear.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Good morning. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
How's the post-birthday girl?
You were asked, Mom, how's the post-birthday girl?
Oh, I'm fine. And thanks for asking.
She doesn't feel a year older.
I have to share a virtual cake.
Right.
Virtual.
I'm turning 36 this March. It's gonna be a big boy. Well, I am.
Big boy indeed.
Already 36.
Wow.
36 is not bad for a musician like me. It's gonna be fun.
Shabbat shalom, Audrey. Shabbat shalom, Dan.
Well,
Julian Liedman is there from his rehab room, but he's not connected to audio.
what happened to Julian?
So he fell outside of work,
Oh,
hurt his knees,
oh yeah.
but the next day couldn't move, so he went to the hospital and
Oh,
ended up having a torn meniscus.
oh.
Has to go to, he's in rehab now. There he is, Julian.
Hi,
Hi, good to see you.
Hi.
Hi, Shabbat shalom.
Jewish Shlema
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
and Shabbat Shalom.
So just when I was coming to come on, and then of course 3 people come in the room.
Oh, right, okay.
Of
So
course.
That's, yeah, you don't have privacy in rehab.
huh?
You don't have privacy in rehab.
I don't know. And plus they scheduled me for something. I may have to
Yeah,
leave at 10.
sure.
I gotta leave at 11 though.
Right, okay,
All right, but I want to listen to you though.
okay. Happy to have you. I hope you didn't mind that I mentioned it at services
No,
last.
thank you. I appreciate everybody's everybody's greetings and all. I'm looking to get out of here quickly.
Yes.
Take care of yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Use the I was trying to think of the woman who works at the Sugarloaf. I think somebody from Show there. I don't even know who she is. Every time I go.
Yeah.
No matter who I
Rabbi,
run
what
into.
happens to Julian? I missed it.
Oh, he
I fell down.
He fell, hurt his knees. He's got to go to rehab, a hospital first. Now he's in rehab. So it's 9:30. Great to have Julian here and have all of you here. Maybe Zella.
Love you. Take care. Bye now.
You all.
I'm gonna go get breakfast.
And then Cantor, Adina, and I can unmute ourselves. Do you know how to do mute all, Zella? I'll do it.
I'm not sure how to mute all.
I got it. So Cantor, Adina, just unmute yourself. There we go. We're good. So Shabbat Shalom all. And today is also Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of the song. Always the Shabbat close to or right after Tu B'Shvat, the Shabbat in which we celebrate the Song of the Sea, which we will be hearing in today's Torah portion, B'Shalach. So we start the service on page 147 in Lev Shalem, or 105 in the Shabbat Sim Shalom.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo.
V'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai layesharim nava tehila. B'fi yesharim titalalu v'divrei tzadikim titbarach. ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות, ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. הילה ותפארת קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדוני נפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל חי העולמים.
148 in Lev Shalem, 106 in Sim Shalom. We rise if we can for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, ועלמא דברה כראותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכו בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמך לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, ושפחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל.
Be seated. Kol Yaducha, Kol Yishabachucha, Kol Yukadosh Kadonai.
אין קרקך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומדומה לך. אין קרקך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מלא עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו. המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונהדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני כסאו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל. כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל. מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נאי זיום בכל העולם. שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים באמה רצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו. קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים.
We're on the top of page 152 and on to 153 in Lev Shalem, the top of 109 and on to 110 in Sim Shalom.
ברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורעו שעשית יפארך סלע. תברך זמננו. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה וטהרה, בשירה ובזמרה, ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נימו תיתנו. המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה וראשית כאמור, לעושה אורים גדולים כי לעולם חסדו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. אברבתנו אדוני אלוהי.
Page 154 in Lev Shalem, 111 in Sim Shalom, we gather together our tzitzit in preparation for the Shema.
והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות, קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועת אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך, ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל מאהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. שמותי שמור מצוותיי.
We continue the middle of 156 in Lev Shalem, the top of 113 in Sim Shalom.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, ביד צדיק ונכון וקיים בהשם. אמת לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים, וכיסו נכון, ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. עולמים. אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם. תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך הוא ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכהנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. שיר החדש שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
And we rise.
ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחן אומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We begin the Amida out loud, page 159 in Lev Shalem, 115 in Sim Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד, ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
שמך בעולם כשם, שמע כשמותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב היה ויחקר זה אל זה ויאמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ ארץ כבודו.
רעש גדול דיר חזק, משמיעים כל מיני שמחות צרפים לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו.
אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
מכינו תופיע ותמלך עלינו כבדך, ומתי תמלך בציון כל
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון? בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. על ידי דוד משיח צדקך, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continue silently 162 to 166 in Lev Shalem, 117 to 120 in Sim Shalom. Yismach Moshe b'manach chelko k'yivim l'kol As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom, page 165 in Lev Shalem, or the top of page 120 in Sim Shalom.
שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך. שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך, עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם, שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We continue with Kaddish Shalem, the full Kaddish, 167 in Lev Shalem, 138 in Sim Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, מעלמא דברך חירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך דקודשה. בריאו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלות ההון ובאות ההון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דיבי שמיה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen.
We turn back in our Sidurim to the Psalm for Shabbat, found on page 72 in Sim Shalom, or page 112 in Lev Shalem. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh,
היום יום שבת קודש, שבו היו הלוויים אומרים בבית המקדש, מזמור של יום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר שמך העליון, להגיד פרוק את הודינו וון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי, ולא עוולת בו.
Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 121 in Lev Shalem or 82 in Sim Shalom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah,
Amen.
ma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman karivim ru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'omaya. Barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudasha berichu elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We turn to our Chumashim now for the Torah reading. As I said earlier, today is known as Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of the song, because of the Song of the Sea that is in this morning's Torah reading, because of the Haftarah, which has a song as well from the judge Deborah singing this song after winning one of the many battles in the conquest of the land of Israel. It's also always the Shabbat after Tu B'Shvat, the minor holiday, which I talked about earlier this week in the Journey Through the Jewish Year class, in which a minor holiday, which in modern times has focused our attention on the environment and hearing the song of the birds and the song of nature. So the idea that today is Shabbat Shirah, what that song is that we try to sing in our lives, a song of justice, a song of the environment, these kinds of songs related to the theme of Shabbat Shirah today. The blessing for Torah study, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So our portion B'Shalach is found on page 399 in the Eitz Chaim Chumash. Whatever edition of Chumash that you have, you're looking for the book of in the book of Exodus, chapter 13, beginning with verse 17. Here we come to the climax of the whole Exodus story, and we actually read about the Exodus in this morning's portion. We last week we left off as the Israelites had started the journey out of Egypt and were celebrated what became the first Passover in Egypt. They left their homes in the middle of the night, and here the narrative continues as they move towards the sea and what will happen there at the sea. Naomi Yadin Mendik is going to be reading selections from the Torah for us. And so Naomi is going to first read what is essentially listed as the first Aliyah in the portion. So from the beginning on page 399 through page 402, verse 8. Go ahead, Naomi.
Okay. V'shalach paro et ha'am v'lo nacham Elohim derech eretz Pelishtim ki karov hu ki amar Elohim pen yinachem ha'am bir'otam yilchama v'shavu mitzrayma vayasev Elohim et ha'am derech hamidbar yam suf v'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Vayikach Moshe et mot Yosef imo ki hishbia et b'nei Yisrael lemor. Pakod yifkod Elohim etchem va'alitem et atzmotai mizeh itechem. Vayis'u misukot v'yachanu beitam b'ktzei hamidbar. V'Adonai holech lifneihem yomam be'amud anan lanchotam haderech v'layla ba'amud esh leha'ir lahem lalechet yomam v'layla lo yamish amud ha'anan yomam ve'amud ha'esh layla lifnei ha'am v'daber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yashuvu v'yachanu lifnei pi hachirot be'midol u'bein hayam lifnei Baal Tzifon yichachot tachanu al hayam ve'amar paro livnei Yisrael nevuchim heim ba'aretz sagar aleihem hamidbar v'chizakti et lev paro v'radaf achareihem ve'ikavada b'faro b'chol chelo v'yada'u Mitzrayim ki ani Adonai v'yasu chen. Vayugad lemelech Mitzrayim ki barach ha'am ve'afech levav paro v'avadav el ha'am v'yomeru mazot asinu ki shilachnu et Yisrael me'avdenu v'yasor et richbav et amo lakach imo vayikach shishmiot rechev bachor b'chol rechev Mitzrayim v'shalishim al kulo. Vaychazek Adonai et lev paro melech Mitzrayim v'yirdof acharei b'nei Yisrael uvnei Yisrael yotzim b'yad Ramah.
Yasher Koach, Naomi, for reading that first selection for us. Just two notes I wanted to make about what was read there. First, as it's described back on page 400 as the people are leaving Egypt, we have just a parenthetical note that Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, fulfilling the commandment and using the exact words from the second to last verse in the book of Genesis, in which Joseph says to his brothers and children and grandchildren, don't forget, God's going to remember, and you're going to bring my bones with you from here back to the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. And here, those exact words are used in verse 19 that Moses remembers. And so by taking Joseph's bones with him so that all the people could see that Joseph's bones are with them as they're leaving Egypt, it creates the bigger context for what this story is about. It's not just about that particular generation of people leaving Egypt. It's about the family, the Israelites themselves, fulfilling their destiny as promised back hundreds of years before. The story that must have been passed down of the story of the family of Abraham and Sarah that led to this people, this group of people who are now beginning to form a nation together, that there is a history for them. It's not just that God heard their cry in Egypt at that time. God heard their cry because of the covenant that God had established hundreds of years before. And by carrying the bones that were carried with the people for the next 40 years, the people would have that constant reminder that history is with them. Another note is that there's a word here. We're told that God caused the Israelites to go a circuitous route out of Egypt towards the land. And Pharaoh and his troops saw the way that they were going, and they commented that Nevuchim heim ba'aretz. and translated here, they are astray. They've gone astray in the land. I always connect the word Nevuchim to a famous Jewish philosophy book written by Maimonides 800 years ago called the Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide to the Perplexed. And Maimonides, being the scholar that he was, in fact, it says about him from Moses, that is Moses in the Torah, until Moses, Maimonides, there wasn't anyone like Maimonides himself, how great a teacher and scholar that he was. So he knew this word Nevuchim, here translated as gone astray, and one of the important works and books that Maimonides wrote is this philosophical treatise that he wrote in Arabic for Jews who have gone astray, to lead them back and understand what Judaism is all about and why the philosophy of Judaism should be the philosophy of life for people to follow, so that they wouldn't be astray, they wouldn't be Nevuchim anymore. The account continues as they get to the shore of the sea. What are they going to do? Here's this body of water in front of them. They do have, as described here, a pillar of cloud by day, which turns into a pillar of fire at night, protecting them in front. And the Egyptian troops are coming from behind, and we're told that this pillar extended in front of them and behind them to serve as a force field, a bubble that would protect them. And yet the people are still explaining, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Until Moses finally stretches out his arm over the sea, and the sea then opens up. The land becomes dry so that the people can walk through, and then the water falls back into place, drowning the Egyptian troops. And then, and this is the part that Naomi is going to chant for us, they sing this song of triumph after having made it to the other side and witnessed the Egyptian troops drowning in the sea. This section, which Naomi is going to read for us, begins on page 405 with verse 30, and she'll chant all the way through chapter 15. You'll see how the verses are arranged. It's arranged this way on these pages because in the Torah scroll itself, this is how the words are arranged. In fact, if you have the United Synagogue calendar that they produce every year, the wall calendar, the picture for the month of January is a picture of a Torah scroll opened to this place in it. And if you remember, when we unroll the entire Torah on Simchat Torah morning, I always point out this section in the Torah scroll for how different it looks from every other section, written in this way to show that it's a poem and to show how important it is. It's incorporated in the morning service. Every morning in the preliminary service, when we are focusing our thoughts as we are beginning our prayer routine in the morning, we're focusing on praising God for the wonders of nature around us, but also praising God for the wonderful deeds that God has performed for us. And the highlight of that, the primary example, is this Song of the Sea. So what Naomi, the tradition is to stand as the song is recited. So Naomi's going to start with verse 30 on page 405, but when we get to the next page, we'll stand as she chants for us the song all the way through verse 21 on page 412. So Naomi, why don't you read that section?
ויושע אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מיד מצרים, וירא ישראל את מצרים מאת על שפת הים. וירא ישראל את היד הגדולה אשר עשה אדוני במצרים, ויראו העם את אדוני, ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו. אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני, ויאמרו לאמור, השירה לאדוני כי גאה גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים. Ozi v'zimrat Yah, vayihi li lishua, se'eli v'anvehu, Elohei avi v'arumemenu. Adonai ish milchama, Adonai shemo. Markevot paro, v'chelo yarav vayam, umibchar shalishav, tu be'uviyam suf. Tehomot yechasyumu yaradu v'imsalot k'mo aven, Yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach, Yemincha Adonai tiratz oyev, uverov yoncha taharos kamecha, tishalach aronecha, yochalemu kakash, uvruach apecha ner mumayim, nisavu chemoned nozlim, kaput hamot b'lev yam, amar oyev, erdof asig achalek shalav, Shimla emo nafshi, ari charbi, tori shemu yadi. Nashafta v'ruchacha ki samoyam, tzalalu ka'oferet b'mayim adirim. Michamocha bailim Adonai, michamocha neder bakodesh, narati lot o sefele. Natita yeminecha, tibla emo aretz. Nachita v'chastecha, amzuga alta, Nehalta be'ozecha el neve kodshecha. Shama'u amim yirgazun chil achaz yosheve pelashet. Az nipalu alufei edom ele moab yochazimu ra'ad. Namogu kol yosheve chenaan. Tipol alehem ematam v'fachad. Bigdol zoracha yidemuk ke'aven ad yavor amcha Adonai ad yavor amzu kanita tiviemo betita emo behar nachotecha machon l'shivtecha pa'alta Adonai mikadash Adonai konanu yadecha Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed Kiva sus paro b'richbo ufarashav mayam vayashev Adonai alehem et mei hayam uvnei Yisrael halachu b'yabasha b'toch hayam vatikach Miriam haniviyah achod Aharon et hatof biyadach v'tetzena chol hanashim achareha v'tupim umcholot V'ta'an lahem Miriam, shiru l'Adonai ki ga'oga'a, sus v'rochbo rama vayam.
May be seated. Yashikach Naomi for reading that section for us as well. Now you would think, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more a little bit later this morning, you would think now after having witnessed the 10 plagues and experienced them as observers, after seeing this incredible miracle of the waters parting so that they could walk through miraculously on land that dried up right away after the waters parted, and then for everybody to walk through and just picture the scene from the 10 Commandments movie, you know, the Charlton Heston movie, and how they did this, and watching all the people walking through the sea in that way. And then, you know, as stragglers were going, because not everybody was rushing through, not everybody could rush through, and yet miraculously they all made it to the other side, and then the water fell in upon itself again, drowning the Egyptians. The first thing they do after singing the song, and there's a question for biblical scholars, did they really sing the song right there on the spot? Was this a spontaneous song? Had the people prepared the song ahead of time and then sang it at this point in the sea? Was it written later and then put into the Torah here? That's a question for biblical scholars. The first thing they do is complain about a lack of water. So this is just remarkable spiritually, but also sets the tone for the entire rest of the Torah, that this group of people, this nation, what will become a nation, just does not have faith in God yet. and they complain about water, they complain about food. And here for the rest of the Torah portion, we read about miracles that God further provides for the people, turning brackish water, bitter water into sweet water, providing quail for the people so that they have some meat, and providing manna to fall from heaven, which was the beginning from that point on for the next 40 years. For the rest of the Torah, until they get into Israel in the book of Joshua, the manna falls from heaven every single day, except as described here, that it doesn't fall on Shabbat. A double portion would fall on Friday, Lechem Mishnah, a double portion, which is why traditionally we have 2 loaves of bread on the table of our Friday night dinner table to remind ourselves of the double portion of manna. It's a tradition to have 2 loaves of challah on the bread for Friday night to remind us of this. And so an extra portion, it would, if you didn't collect the manna right away, it would begin to spoil. But the further miracle was that the extra portion that was collected on Friday would stay so that it would still be good on Shabbat when it would be needed by the people to eat. So the miracles keep being provided by the people. There was the Torah portion describes what the taste of the manna is, and Dr. David Roskies wrote the Devar Torah for JTS that came out this week, and he quotes his mother, who spoke Yiddish in the house all the time, with a phrase: if something was really delectable and delicious, she would say, it tastes like tzapichis bidvash. It tastes like, which is the Yiddish Ashkenazi pronunciation of kitzapichit bidvash. It tastes like a wafer dipped in honey. That's, yeah. So if the Yiddish speakers here might be familiar with a phrase like that, that's what David Roskies brings, and it's from this portion right here near the end of the Torah. And then the last thing, the last miracle that God provides for the people here is that they meet the Amalekites 3 days later, and that's what Naomi is going to conclude the portion with, reading about that war, the battle with the Amalekites. And the miracle there, all Moses had to do was keep his hands up. And we have Joshua and Hur are the 2 people who are keeping his arms raised. As long as Moses's arms are raised, then the people are victorious in battle. And they defeat the Amalekites, and we're told never to forget the deeds of the Amalekites who dared to attack the people of Israel, and they attacked from behind where the weaker people, the older people were, instead of attacking in the normal conventional manner, attacking from the front. So Naomi is going to read for us, beginning on page 420, chapter 17, verse 8, through the end of the portion.
Vayavo Amalek v'yilachem im Yisrael b'Refidim. Vayomer Moshe el Yoshua b'char lanu anashim v'tzei yilachem ba'Amalek machar. Anochi nitzav al rosh hagiv'ah u'matei Elohim biyadi. Vayas Yoshua ka'asher amar lo Moshe lilachem ba'Amalek. Moshe Aharon Bechor Alu Rosh Hagiv'ah V'haya Ka'asher Yari Moshe Yado Begavar Yisrael V'ka'asher Yaniach Yado Begavar Amalek B'dei Moshe Kevedim V'chu Eben V'yasimu Tachtav V'yeshev Aleha V'Aharon Bechor Tamachu V'yadav Mizeh Echad U'mizeh Echad V'hi Yadav Emuna Ad Bo HaShamesh V'chalosh Yoshua Et Amalek V'et Amo Lefi Charev Vayomer Adonai El Moshe Kitov Zod Zikaron B'Sefer V'sim Bo Znei Yoshua Kimacho emche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim. Vayibem Moshe mizbeach v'yikra shemo Adonai Nisi. Vayomer ki yad al kesyach milchama l'Adonai ba'Amalek midor dor.
So we wish a Yasher Koach to Naomi for reading Torah for us. Of course, it was Aaron and Hur, not Joshua and Hur, who were kept Moses' arms up. Joshua was the one, as the Torah said, who led the people in battle. So before we continue with the Haftarah, we pause now for the prayer for those who are ill. If anybody has a name to add to the list of names that I have, then just unmute yourselves and I'll go around the screen, my screen in the order that I have it, and I'll get to you so that you can say the name or names that you want to add to the list. We can follow along in Lev Shalem on 173 or Sim Shalom on page 144 on the bottom of the page. Yishaberach Chavateinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov V'imotenu Sarif Garachav Leah V'yivarech V'yirpei et HaCholim Shmuel ben Karet Penina bat Chana Leah Simet Tzivia bat Zelda Tzippa Chana bat Golda Ruth bat Sarah Nes Gildor ben Shoshana Shlomo ben Golda Tzivia Sarah bat Simaleah Simcha Natan ben Risachana Avia Sarah bat Cyril Issa Rachel Penina bat Ariella Tzipora Sheva bat Rezel Chaim ben Rachaleah Gavriel ben Batya Yehuda ben Leah, Fruma Dereda bat Zisha, Malka Chava bat Tzivia Sarah, Batya bat Rivka, Gloria Hyacinth, Howard Salter, Shira Elisheva bat Sarah, Yosef Shlomo ben Batya, John Alcoba, Devora Sheshel bat Chaya Rachel, Ephraim ben Golda, Yaakov Hirsch ben Tzipora, Batya Tziro bat Batsheva, Rezel bat Esther, Zev ben Chaya, Bela Chana bat Fega, Steve Resnick, Gedalia ben Chaya, Huna ben Sarah, Polinsky's.
Anna Barchana, Alan Bromfield.
Dad.
Moshe ben Miriam, Minda Fruma bat Malka Fredel, Svia Chaya bat Chana, Mordechai ben Sprinza Pessel, Dova Chava bat Pelka, Mordechai ben Chana.
Cantor Adina and Glenn.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
Asher ben Leah, Marie Swanson.
Gershon ben Freya, Baruch ben Rachel, Yirmiyahu Are ben Rachel, Rachel bat Leah, Rudadina bat Sarah, Rina bat Gabriella.
Audrey.
Ed Kowalski and Simcha Feivel Bennett Achaya.
I'm just passing over Julian Liedman, and so of course we prayers for Julian as well as he's recovering from his knees. Rita Rubenstein.
Sarah bat Freda, Rivka, Tzila bat Zipporah, Avram ben Gita, Tzivia bat Sarah, Brian Freda bat Mildred, Yehuda ben Celia, Arya ben Tova, Gedalia ben Chaya, Rezel bat Sarah.
Jules, do you have a name? Jules.
Jan Horner.
Okay. Margie and Steve.
Avraham ben from Elka.
Charlotte.
Irene Heckler, Ricky Weiser, Michael Weiser, Donna Cohn, Beverly Tillis, Jay Manius, and John Bat Gedalia, and Elaine Petoskey.
Joel Friedman.
It's a horrible.
Simmehinda bas Malka, Esther bas Yocheved, Batya Tziro bas Batsheva, Shlomo ben Golda.
Howie.
Chana Leah bat Soshi and Shoshana bat Sarah.
Jackie and Danny.
Adrian Pershin and Alvin Ben.
Marlene.
Moshe ben Chana and Lisa Rosenberg.
Michael Gross.
Miriam Sarah bat Brina, David ben Shana, Sarah Miriam bat Rachel, Chaya Leah, Charna Leah bat Chaya Sarah, and Sam Ballett.
Arnie.
Abraham ben Zelda and Peter Weiss.
And Judy Bressler.
Barbara Bressler.
וכל החולים בקהילתנו HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem Lahachazikam Larabotam Vishlach Lahem Mehera Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf B'toch Shar HaCholim V'chazek Yididei Ha'oskim B'tzorcheihem Shabbat Himelazok U'Refuah Krova Lavo Hasha Baglav Yizman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. The Debbie Friedman song Mishe Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe beirachimotenu Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. So the Haftarah this morning, as I said earlier, is also related to the Torah portion in that it is a song. And as we're going to do the Sephardic edition of the Haftarah, as is our custom, to start in the middle of the Haftarah, chapter 5, instead of the very beginning. It is a story of one of many stories throughout the book of Judges of the gradual conquest of the land of Israel by a variety of leaders that arose throughout the land, throughout the territory, some in the north, some in the central part of the land, some in the south. And here is described the only woman listed among all the judges, Deborah, who leads the people with Barak, son of Avinoam, leading the battle against the Canaanites. And so instead of reading the background story to this of chapter 4, we'll read the Mark Kaufman is going to chant the Haftarah for us, beginning with chapter 5, which is on page 426 in the Eitz Chaim. So whatever Chumash you're using, look to the Haftarah and go a couple of pages into it to see chapter 5, and you'll see how it's arranged on the page, just like the Song of the Sea in the Torah portion itself, to remind us that this is a poem that she is singing as to celebrate this triumph over in that particular battle with the Canaanites. So Mark will chant the blessings before and after the Haftarah as well, which in the Lev Shalem are found on page 175. In the Sim Shalom, the bottom of 146 and 147. And again, the Haftarah begins on page 426 in Eitz Chaim. Mark.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bocha b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav divreihem hane'emorim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocheh b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vatasha Dvara Uvarach Ben Avinoam Bayom Hahu Lemor Bifra Piraot Yisrael V'hid Nadevam Barachu Adonai Shimu Melachim Aazinu Rosnim Anochi Ladonai Anochi Ashira Azameh L'Adonai Elohei Yisrael Adonai B'tzeitecha Miseir B'tzadcha Mistei Edom Eretz La'asha Gam Shamayim Natafu Gam Oavim natfu mayim. Hadim nazlu mipnei Adonai, ze Sinai mipnei Adonai Elohei Yisrael. Bimei Shamga ben Anat bimei Yael. Chadlu arachot v'hol chei netivot yelchu arachot akakalot. Chadlu pirazon v'Yisrael chadelu ad shakamti dvara shakamti em Yisrael. Yivcha Elohim Chadashim, Az Lachem Sharim, Magen Im Yera'eh, V'Romach, V'Abaim Elech B'Yisrael. Libi L'chokakei Yisrael, Amit Nadvim Ba'am, Barachu Adonai, Rochvei, Atanot Secharot, Yishvei al Midim, Hochei al Derech Sichu, Mikol Machatzatzim, Bein Mashavim, Sham Yitanu, Tzidkot Adonai, Tzidkot Hizono, B'Yisrael Ahaz, Yardu Lasharim Am Adonai. Uri Dvara, Uri Dabri Shir, Kumbara, Vashavei Shevicha Ben Avinoam, Ajirat Sarid Liadirim Am Adonai Yarad Li Begiborim Mini Ephraim Shasham Ba'amalek Achadecha Binyamim Ba'amad Mecha Mini Machir Yardu Mechokakim Umizvulun Mishchim B'Shevet Sofer V'Sarai V'Yisachar Im Devara V'Yisachar Kein Barak V'Emech Shulach V'Raglav B'Flagot V'Ovein Gidolim Chikakei Lev Lama Yashavta Bein Hamishpetayim Lishmoa Shirika Adarim Liflegot Ruvain Gidolim Hikre Lev Gilad Be'eva Yadein Shachain Vedan Lama Yagur Aniyot Asher Yashav Lechof Yamim Al Mifratzav Yishkon Zivulun Am Halef Nafsho Lamut B'Naftali Al Mirame Sadeh Ba'u Milachim Nilchamu Az Nilchamu Malchei Canaan B'Tanach Al Megiddo Betzah Kesef Lo Yikachu Min Shamayim Nilchamu Akochavim Im Silotam Nilchamu Im Sisra Nachal Kishon Yirafa Nachal Gedumim Nachal Kishon Kilechi Nafshi Oz Oz Chalmu Ikvesus Bidharot Aharot Abira Rav Odu Meiro Zama Malach Adonai, Odu Ado, Yishveha, Kilova Uli, Ezrat Adonai, Ezrat Adonai Begiborim, Ivorach Minashim, Yael, Eshet, Heve Hakeni, Minashim Be'ohel, Ivorach, Mayim Sha'al, Halav Nahatana, Besefer Adirim, Hikriva Hema. Yada layotet tishlachna v'mina lechamut amelim v'alma sisra machakadosho umachatsa v'hilfa rakatom bein ragleha karanafal shachav Bein ragleha kara nafal, b'asheba kara sham nafal shaduhud, be'ad achalon nishkefa batya behev, aim sisra ba'ad ha'eshna madua b'shechvikbo Lavom Madua Echeru Ame Makvotav Achmot Siroteha Ta'angeha Afhi Tashiv Amoreha La Alo Yimtu Yechavkuk Shalal Racham Nachamatayim Lirosh Geve Shalal Sivaim L'Sisra Sha'al Sivaim Rikma Sevar Rikmatayim Latzvudei Shalal Kain Yovdu Kol Oivecha Adonai V'ohavav Kitseis Hashemesh Bigvurato Batishkot Haaretz Abaim Shana Baruch Atah Eloheinu Melech Olam Sor Kol Hamim Sadik B'Chadarot El Haneman Hamev Yoseh Hamduel Kayim Shechol Devarav Emefot Tzedek Ne'eman Atorunai Eloheinu Ne'emarim Devarecha V'Davarcha Mivarecha Achol Lo Yeshuv Reikam Ki Amelch Ne'eman V'Rachaman Atah Baruch Atah Adonai Ma bechol devarav. Sion ki hibei chayenu v'lavat nefesh toshia b'mheda b'yameinu baruch atah Adonai v'smet Sion b'vaneha. Nu anayel hiyahu anavi avdecha v'alchut beit avi meshichecha b'mheda yavo v'yagel libeinu al ki solo yeshev zav v'lo yimchal achin ekvodo hi b'shem kashan yishpat lo Shelo Yipeni Radi Olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai David Al HaTorah V'Alchot Adonai Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatat Lanu Adonai Eloheinu K'Sham Lucha L'Kvod U'Tiforet Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu Modim Lach U'Mvachim Otach Yiparach Shemcha B'Fikro Chai Tamid Olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. We wish a Yasher Koach to Mark for chanting the Haftorah for us this morning. And we now continue in the Siddur with the prayers. First, the prayer for those who serve the community. I had asked Ellen Beebe to read this prayer for us, but I'm not sure that she is on. I asked three people who who observed yard sites or are observing a yard site today, and Ellen had the yard site for her husband Eric earlier in the week. So if Ellen is here, unmute yourself, but I don't think she is. May the one who blessed our ancestors, we're on page 176 in Lev Shalem, 148 in Sim Shalom. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation together with all other holy congregations, they, their families, and all that is theirs, along with those who devote themselves to establish synagogues for prayer, as well as those who enter them to pray, and those who provide for their maintenance, wine for Kiddush and Havdalah, food for guests, bread for the hungry, tzedakah for the poor, and shelter for the homeless, and all who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of this community and the land of Israel. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, and forgive their sins. May God bless them by making all their worthy endeavors prosper, as well as those of the entire people Israel, their brothers and sisters. And let us say, Amen. Judy Bressler will read for us the prayer for our country in memory of her father, whose yahrzeit also was earlier this week.
Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy, accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice they have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Adonai, God, whose spirit is in all creatures, we pray that your spirit will awaken within all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife. Plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, the wisdom to act with compassion, and the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our land. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. And thank you, Judy. And Manny Ginsberg is going to read the prayer for the state of Israel, page 178 in Lev Shalem, 149 in Sim Shalom, in memory of his wife, Biddy, whose yahrzeit is today. Manny, unmute yourself.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. V'nomer, Amen.
Amen. So may Biddy's memory, may Arthur's memory always be a source of blessing and comfort to the two of you and to all of us as well, who knew them well for all these years. We continue. Dina Eber is going to lead us responsively in Ashrei, page 181 and 82 in Lev Shalem, 151 and 52 in Sim Shalom.
Okay, all right. Ashrei Ve'tacha, Ojicha Lucha Salah.
Ashrei
Am Shekacha Lo, Ashrei Am Shadonai Elohav.
Tehillah LeDavid, Armimcha Elohai HaMelech, Bevarcha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed.
Bechol Yom Avarcheka, Va'alela Shimcha Leolam Va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Humulah Me'od, V'ligatu Lato En Cheker.
Dor Lador Yeshabach Ma'asecha, Ugevorotecha Yagidu.
Hadar Kavod Hadecha, V'divrei Niflotecha Asicha.
Be'ezuz Norotecha Yomeru, Ugdulatecha Saprena.
זכר רבתך יביאו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ערך אפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, רחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מהותך יאמרו, וגבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני האדם גבורותיו, וכבוד הדר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני כל אליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעתו.
פותח את ידיך, ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קורב, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע וישיים.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני דבר פי, וברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יך, מעתה ועד עולם, hallelujah.
We wish you Yasher Koach to Dina. Nicely done. Beautiful responsive chanting of Ashrei for us. Before we continue with the service, I just wanted to share a few words about this morning's Torah reading. There is a theme in the Midrash, which I will get to shortly, to try to understand the theology presented in today's Torah portion. Namely, how do we understand God working miracles for the people of Israel? And what we, I think, need to understand is the people of Israel themselves as they were right there in Egypt. You see, the rabbis have the religious sentiment and teach in their writings from 2,000 years ago, as they interpreted the Torah and the Bible and created the system of Judaism as we know it today. They taught that miracles do not happen spontaneously, nor should we be praying for miracles to happen at all. Rather, the function of religion and the function of God in the world is for us to partner with God to ensure that what God teaches us about how the world should function, that there should be justice, there should be peace, there should be equity, etc., that we need to be God's partners in making that happen. And so one of the midrashim that the rabbis teach, just as God is compassionate, so should we be compassionate. Just as God is merciful, so should we be merciful. So for the rabbis, the understanding is that we should not be praying for miracles. We should not depend on miracles. Rather, we should be praying for God's help in guiding us on the right path. And so therefore, they are challenged by this morning's portion because miracles are happening right and left in this morning's portion and last week's and the week before. When we read of the 10 plagues happening as God brings them down on the Egyptians. Here, as God opens the sea to allow the people to walk through, creates sweet water from bitter water just by commanding Moses to throw a piece of wood into that oasis, bringing a flock of quail to rain down on the people so that they would have meat to eat, and bringing the manna every day, and being every day a pillar of cloud going before them in the daytime and a pillar of fire at night. So here are miracles happening all the time. How do we explain this? And so perhaps it's a matter of understanding that God has of where the people were at that moment. They were slaves. They had no idea that there was an other way to think about how to lead their lives other than being slaves. They were told from the moment they woke up till the moment they went to sleep, exactly what to do. They were not allowed to have any independent thought on their own. They had to do what their Egyptian taskmasters told them to do. They didn't have to look for water to drink or food to eat. They ate and drank whatever their taskmasters had for them. It was a harsh, oppressive life. And if slavery in Egypt was anything like slavery in America for the Black people, then families were ripped apart as well. And so there was no sense of security in the land of Egypt for the Israelite people. There was no sense of hope. There was only languishing in this life of servitude. And so they couldn't even imagine thinking about an alternative lifestyle other than perhaps thinking about what it would be like to be free from slavery. And so perhaps what the Torah is teaching us is that God responded to the people in that moment and provided what they needed in that moment. But what we will see beginning with next week's portion when we read the 10 Commandments, and the following week's portion, Mishpatim, when we read about the whole civil law code that is presented to the people, that is how society is supposed to work. And that is how we are supposed to have faith in God, that we see through the laws that are presented to us how we can get along with one another. We can see through the ethics and morality that lies behind the laws how society is supposed to rise above just the basic survival, but rather to see the ideals that we are supposed to live for. And through living a life of law, through living a life of religion, then we see that life is transformed and becomes better. So for the rabbis, it would have been better if next week's portion and the following portions came first to show us really what a religious lifestyle is, and that really the miracles could come later. Because for the rabbis, it's not the miracles that are what we are supposed to be looking forward to in life, but rather the tools and resources that a religious lifestyle presents to us. That's the resources that we're supposed to lead for in life. Now, we all would want miracles to happen in this age of COVID, in this age of racial injustice and division within America. It would be nice if a miracle would come to make things right for us. That would be the easier path. If only we pray fervently and God could answer our prayers and make things all better for society, make things better for us, so we wouldn't have to worry about disease and division, but rather know that the rabbis know that miracles don't come to answer the call. The temple in Jerusalem was destroyed in spite of the fervent prayers of the Jews in Israel 2,000 years ago. The Jews were sent into exile by the Romans despite fervent prayers. So miracles don't happen, the rabbis know. Rather, religion provides comfort. It provides a path in order to navigate the crisis and tragedy that we inevitably face in life. And so just as the Midrash says below the line on page 413 about putting the water putting the wood into the brackish water. The purpose of religion, our Eitz Chaim commentary says, is not to explain life's bitterness, but to sweeten it, to make it more palatable. The Midrash envisions Moses asking God, "Why did you create this bitter water in your world, a liquid that serves no purpose?" God replies, "Instead of asking philosophical questions, do something to make the bitter waters sweet." So the idea from this commentary is religion is, the purpose of religion is to help to make the bitterness of life all around us sweet and provide as many opportunities for sweetness. May that be our message today as we look forward. As many on the screen have appointments, if not had already received their first vaccine. May that vaccine provide the sweetness, the path to sweetness, so that we can restore society and move towards looking for sweetness in life. Shabbat Shalom. So let's continue in the service. We rise if we can for Chatzi Kaddish, Musaf 184 in Lev Shalem, 155 in Sim Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, ועלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דרכו בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמך דקודשה בריאו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו amen.
Let the Amida out loud together on the next page.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Anora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasadei Avot, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד, ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומה תצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Siach Safei Kodesh, Makdishim Chama Kodesh, Kaka Tuba Karazel Zeh V'Yamar.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו.
Love Shalom Zelzel Olim Atam Baruch Yimeru.
כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים שמה ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
Moshienu v'Hashmir B'Avlesh V'Kol Chai Yolachem Le'Elohim.
הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי. להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה, כי אל מלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Continue silently in Lev Shalem 188 to 192, in Sim Shalom 158 to 161. Tikanta Shabbat Ramah. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom, page 191 in Lev Shalem, the top of 161 in Sim Shalom.
Sim shalom ba'olam, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barchenu avinu kulanu kechad, be'or panecha. Ki ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim ve'avat chesed, ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka u'veracha ve'rachamim ve'chayim ve'shalom. Sim shalom ba'olam, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, ve'tov b'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechulet uvechol shah b'shalomecha. Sim shalom ba'olam, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
we continue with Kaddish Shalem, the full Kaddish 203 in Lev Shalem 181 in Sim Shalom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך דקודשה, בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובאותון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דיבי שמיה ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen.
Elijah Goodman is going to lead us in Ein Kelohenu on the next page, 204 in Lev Shalem, 182 in Sim Shalom. Elijah, unmute yourself and lead us, please, in Ein Kelohenu.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemokenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Kelohenu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemokenu, Mi Kemoshienu. No del Elohenu, no del Adonenu, no del Emokenu, no del Moshienu. Baruch Elohenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Atahu Shiktiru, Avotenu, Lefaneha Ekatoret Hasamim.
Yashikoach, Elijah, will you do Kiddush at the end? Borei Pri Hagafen?
Yeah.
Very good. Nicely done. Yashikoach, we continue. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Chanina.
Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Amar...
Shalom.
Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo hasanu kegoyei aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד על כן נקווה אדוני אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Today and during the coming week, we observe yard sites and also continue to observe for the month after the funeral the memory of Rochelle Steinberg, Rachel Bat Yisrael, Goldie Rodman, Golda Bat Shmuel, Helen Sandler, Hodel Bat Gershon Vachaya, Biddy Ginsburg, Miriam Bat Rav Chaim Unachama, Sam Goldman, Shlomo Ben Avram Feivel, Halevi Vashifra, Samuel Nordfin, Shmuel Ben Yerucham, Lena Rosensky, Leah Bat Moshe Vesara, Ann Schwartz, Chana Bat Shalom Vigolda, Louis Solomon, Doris Perry Levine, Beatrice Brodowski, Rivka Bat Reb Chaim, Rabbi Robert Chernoff, Harav Ruvain Ben Eliakim Leib HaKohen, Hilda Rachel Novig, Hinda Rachel Bat Nachum, Maris Oler, Yisrael Moshe Ben Zelig, Mark Sokolovsky, Virginie Clement, Virginie Bat Yitzchak V'Shlomo, Rose Cohen, Rachel Bat Yisrael, Sidney Goldstein, Ronald Leinson, Rachmiel Eliezer Ben Yosef, Ronald Dawson, Mendel Ben Motel, Miriam Goldie Lieberman, Ida Rosenthal, Chayalea Bat Belleville, Maxine Bender, Samuel Fellman, Shmuel Ben Chaim, Carl Kaplowitz, Miriam Kay, Michla Bat Eliakim Getzel, this Sarah Razel, Rose Schiff, Risa Bat Reb Yaakov, Fred Simon, Samuel Weiland, Shmuel Yankel Ben Yosef Ufega, Leopold Goldberg, Label Ben Avraham Velea, and Ronald Schmidt, Ruvain Dov Ben Meir Zelig. And in their memory, we recite the El Male, the memorial prayer.
El Male Rachamim, Shochen Ba'meromim, Hamtzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah, B'mahalot Kedoshim U'Teorim, Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim, Lenishmot Kol Eile שהזכרנו היום לברכה, שהלכו לעולמם בגן עדן, תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל רחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ונאמר Amen.
And Mourner's Kaddish is found on 207 in Lev Shalem or 184 in Sim Shalom. Yit Kadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon of yomechon v'chayedachol beit Yisrael b'agalav izman karivim ru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'ol maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu Ela minko birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Just a couple of announcements before we conclude the service. First, Yasher Koach, as always, to Cantor Adina for leading us beautifully this morning. Want to thank Zella Shabbason Rosenberg for being the Zoom co-host, Naomi for reading Torah, Mark for chanting the Haftorah, to Judy Bressler, Manny Ginsberg for reading the prayers for us, to Dina and Elijah for participating in the service as well, with Ashrei and Enke Eloheinu, and looking forward to the Kiddush as well from Elijah. Tomorrow, we certainly extend our best wishes to Julian Liedman, hoping that rehab there will go smoothly and safely and healthily too. And we also, this evening, Shabbos is over a little bit after 6, a little bit after 5 after 6, so 6:10 will be the evening service and Havdalah this evening. Sisterhood only will be having bingo this evening. For more information about that, if you are a Sisterhood member, email Jackie after Shabbat to, if you haven't already gotten information about it and signed up for bingo this evening. And just a reminder of two things. One, next Friday night, we will be having our Friday night service combined with Beth Shalom in Columbia. As we know, we're beginning to do some activities and programs together with Beth Shalom, and we thought we could try doing a Friday night service at 6 o'clock, the usual time, but not the usual Zoom link and not the usual live stream. Because of technology, you had to pick somebody's to use. You couldn't use both at the same time. So we're going to be using Beth Shalom's Zoom link and their live stream as well. It's already in the calendar on the Shul website. If you go to Friday, February 5th on the Shul calendar, you'll see the links there. It'll also be in next week's daf that comes out on Thursday. And I'll also send it out in an email message on Friday morning as well. So no worries there. And also, it's not too late to sign up for next Saturday night's comedy night. This annual, though we've done a few other comedy nights in the past couple of months. This one is the like the annual comedy night that we have always on the Saturday night before the Super Bowl. So there's information in the DAF about signing up for that and registering for that. So hopefully we'll have a great turnout, as we always do, for the comedy night. And also don't forget to sign up for the Mishloach Manot. Yes, Purim is coming, just a month away. So the Mishloach Manot bags will be organized and distributed again the Sunday before Purim. That's the last Sunday in February. Is that the? No, it's not the last Sunday in February. It's the second to last Sunday in February. Whatever, the 20th or the 21st will be the day to come to Shul to get your bag. And if you can't come to the bag, we'll be sure to bring the bag to you. So please be sure to sign up for that Mishloach Manot. We conclude the service with Adon Olam, page 211 in Lev Shalem, or 187 in Sim Shalom.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Oveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'en Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira Veli Reshit Veli Taklit Velo Ha'oz Ve'hamisra Velo Ha'oz Ve'hamisra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali Ve'tzur Chevli V'yetzara Ve'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi B'yom Ekra Menat Kosi B'yom Ekra Beyado Afkid Ruchi Ve'et Ishan Ve'ayira Ve'im Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li Ve'lo ira Adonai Li Ve'lo ira.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Elijah, are you ready for Berei Pri Hagafen? Let me do a couple paragraphs first. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael t'Shabbat la'asara Shabbat l'dor tam brit olam b'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael t'ili olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai t'shamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash zachor yom ha'Shabbat l'kadsho sheshet yamim tavod v'asita kom lachtecha v'yom hashvi'i Shabbat l'Adonai Elohecha lo ta'aseh kom lacha ata b'imcha v'itecha v'decha v'amatecha uvemtecha v'gercha shebisharecha ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai t'shamayim v'et haaretz v'yom ha'kol shabam vayanach bayom hashvi'i Al Kain Berach Adonai Yom HaShabbat Vayikatshehu Sabri Elijah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You can unmute yourselves. Wishes for a safe and
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yasher Koach to everyone.
Shalom.
Julian, be well.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Stay well.
Stay well.
Yeah, refuah shlema,
Stay
Julian.
well and be careful.
Julian, refuah shlema. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom,
Yeah,
everyone.
great to see everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
I just want to remind everybody that it's very cold outside. And if there's a drop of water outside, it is icy. And I found out the hard way when I went out this morning and I went to put a letter in the mailbox and pick up my newspaper. Fortunately, I was able to jump up and I'm really fine. But you have to be careful because, and I said, how come I fell? So I went down and I touched the ground and it was slippery.
Huh.
Wow.
Yes, you have to be.
It didn't look slippery. It really didn't because you could even see the pieces of, gravel-like. But it was very slippery. So I'm very lucky because I jumped up and I'm fine.
That's right. Very good.
But just warning everybody because that was a real warning to me. And I said, gee, I have this alarm. I'll put, I didn't take the alarm, these things that I carry with me during the day that show to make sure I have. Because I just went out to put the letter in the mailbox. You know, I didn't expect to fall. But like I said, you can see I'm fine and I jumped up and I'm really in good shape. But morning, everybody.
Yes,
Because
be
now that the weather is cold,
Thank you.
if there's a drop of water, that
Thank
water
you.
is going to be ice.
Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
All right. Shabbat
This is-
shalom all.
And this is to my good health.
Yes.
You're well.
Shabbat shalom. Great to see everybody.
Same here.
Shabbat shalom, Marlene.
Shabbat
It was
shalom.
good, Marlene.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat shalom, everybody.